Ferrari. That's a name, manufacturer, mark that draws passion. You know, you always dream as a kid, yeah, maybe I'll own a Ferrari someday, but it's not like, hey, this is what I want in the next, 10 years or whatever. It's something that, you'd say, yeah, I'd love to have it, but is it really gonna happen? Probably not. But then, as I'm collecting cars, and I get in the car business, right? And then I remember seeing a movie called The Rock in the late 90s. And it kind of piqued my interest. I'm kind of like, that yellow 355 Spider. I'm like, that's pretty freaking cool. I got these cars pinned on my board in my mind, my 911, these are my ultimate end game cars, and I'm like, probably not gonna happen, but let me just put this car up on my mental board. Yellow 355 Spider. I've got the die cast 1/18 scale. I've got like die cast of every car that I've wanted. I've had it before the car. I've got a collection of die cast cars. I've probably got 100 of them. So I'm sitting here, looking at that car, and I'm like, okay, that's my dream Ferrari. So my first opportunity, like, wait a minute, this is an opportunity for a Ferrari, is Tyler and I go to an estate sale. This is a crazy story in itself. This guy is in this small little town just north of Wichita. And I mean small town as in I'm talking a few hundred people. He had bought this old abandoned Ford dealership, and he was a Ford guy, and he filled 2 buildings up with cars and parts. This guy spent a lifetime collecting cars, with Ford being his focus. He had a Pantera in there. He had all kinds of Mustangs, a Boss 302, and all this. He had this stuff. Nobody knew. His family did not know. So the gentleman unexpectedly passes away one day, just like completely out of the blue, passes away. And so then the family is going through the estate, and they know that he owns these buildings. They walk into this building, and it's completely full of cars. It's like that crazy story you hear, but you don't believe. This is real, right outside of Wichita, and it is just like this gold mine treasure trove of cars and parts. 2 massive buildings full. And in that collection of cars is a lone Ferrari 308, completely out of character for everything there. They advertise this auction, but it's not, it's not like, you don't really see it like mass advertised, like a Mecum or, like one of these big, it's a local auction company. Auction day comes. We kind of previewed the cars, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is just an insane amount. And they're just auctioning everything. The lifts, the buildings. It's a complete liquidation. We show up the day of the auction, and a funny story, I'm always the opportunist, okay? I'm always looking at an angle. So I've got a 50,000 mile all original 67 Beetle that I'd found out of an estate. One family from New Beetle. And I'm driving that, and I'm like, there's gonna be a lot of buyers here. So I take my little Beetle and I park it right up by the front gate, put a for sale sign in it. And I sold the car at the auction. So we're looking at these cars, and like I said, there's Panteras and all this stuff, and Tyler's looking at some cars, and I see that 308, and I'm like, and it doesn't run. Most all the cars actually run and drive, but the 308 doesn't run. But you can tell it doesn't run just from sitting. So I'm like, hey, this is my kind of deal here. This is my kind of car. So, I'm looking at Tyler, and I'm like, okay, I think this might be one I might want to take a swing at. Tyler's texting all of his buddies and all of his car trek and YouTube buddies, and Freddie pops up. I need that car for car trek, and I'm like, oh, and Tyler, I'm like, you guys, okay, I'm not going to bid against you. I'm going to try to steal it. And but the funny story is it actually went, I told you, I thought we were going to steal stuff. Oh my gosh, stuff was bringing crazy money. I wouldn't have even bought the car anyway. Tyler was actually second place on the car. It went like above, like I'm out, right, from what they wanted to put into the car. And then, so I guess the high bidder flaked, whatever it was. So they call Tyler up, and so Tyler buys the 308. And it goes to Car Trick, it goes to Freddie Tavarish, and then now it's at the Wizards, and it's Wizards car. So it's cool that it's kind of still in the family, but it was kind of like, that was my first shot at a Ferrari. 308's not my thing anyway, and it's like it's a little older. I kind of like the let's see if I can find 355. So I'm keeping an open mind, and lo and behold, I get the phone call. Here we go again. I got another crack at my second crack at a Ferrari, and it's my dream Ferrari, right? At that moment, guy calls me up. He says, "Yeah, I was looking on your website. You got some cars I like. I might be interested in buying, and I want to do some trading." So he says, "I have a 96 355 Spider gated yellow Ferrari, and I want to sell it." And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to be in Houston at Barrett-Jackson here in a month or so." So we kept communicating back and forth, and we're talking about it, but he kind of had an angle that he was playing a little bit. He was wanting to trade the car to me, but he was kind of he wanted a YouTube video done, so he was a pretty slick guy. He's a wheeler and dealer. And so he was playing angles on it. And so I'm at the auction, but then I go and I see the guy. Cause like I said, I'm putting hands and eyes on everything. So I'm zeroing in. I'm like, okay, it was a cheap price. He told me 50 grand. And I looked at the car, and it kind of looked rough, covered in dust, but I'm like, there's a decent car under here. So I told him, Tyler, about it. And I was like, well, hey, I got a 360 that in Florida that I'm buying, so maybe I'll ship it to there, and we can kind of do a video and buy them and drive them back, and so do something to make everybody happy. Long story short, Tyler's 360 deal falls through, and he messages me up. He says, "Man, I need that 355. My 360 fell through." And I'm like, once again, it's like, it wasn't generated through me. So I'm like, okay, Tyler, I'm gutted again. I was disappointed, but I was almost relieved at the same time. He makes the deal on the car. He's like, "Okay, I'm going to buy the car." And I'm like, oh, okay. My Ferrari chasing dream is effectively crushed. For all intents and purposes, my income is not keeping up with appreciation. Well, I get a call from a friend of mine, and he says, "Hey, are you interested in a 348 Spider?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" He says, 30,000 miles. Guys had it for 20 years locally. And I'm like, "Are you serious?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Are you going to buy it?" He says, "Well, I don't really think I want it." And I'm like, "Well, how much?" And he's like, "I think the guy wanted, I don't know, $58,000, something like that." And then time goes by, and he's like, "I got that guy down to 55. He calls me up. "I got him down to 55. And I'm like, "Rob, it's a pretty good deal." "Well, but I'm trying to get it for 50. And he's telling me about the car. And I'm like, "It runs and drives." He says, "Yeah, it runs and drives." He says, "It needs a top. It's got a tear in the top and needs a little recon, a little redying on the seats and stuff, And I'm like, "But it's a nice car." He says, "Yeah, it's a nice car." Then he calls me up, and he calls me up again. He just keeps calling me back, and he's just like teasing me with his car. He keeps working this guy over, and he goes out and sees the car a couple of times. And then he calls me up and he goes, "I'm going to offer him, 50, right?" And I go out there and I go, "Well," I said, "if he doesn't take it," what does he take? He says, "Well, he said he'd take 52. I'm ready to write you a check right now. 52 grand for this car." He goes, "Okay, I think I'm going to buy it. But if I don't want it or whatever, I'll sell it to you for what I paid for it or what I got into it or whatever." I'm like, fair enough. I don't care if I buy it today, a week from now, a month from now. He loves to buy cars. He buys them. They sit in his garage, and everybody gives him a hard time, and he'll see this, and he'll just laugh because he's known for buying cars and then not doing anything with them. He buys the car, and I said, cool. The very next weekend, I'm at my shop working on a Saturday, picking pictures of cars, cleaning cars, just doing my thing, getting cars ready. And Tyler gives me a call. He says, "Hey, I'm buying some cars from Rob. Can you help me go move them?" And he goes, "I'm buying Rob's," because he's been trying to buy Rob's 74 Carrera for years. Because it's just sitting, and it needs work, and he's not doing anything with it. So he's like, "I'm buying Rob's 74 Carrera." Okay, I'm like, "Yeah." "I'm buying his Aston Martin." "Yeah." "And I'm buying the Ferrari." Okay. I don't even know what to say. Tyler comes and picks me up. And he's in his car, and he's in a Range Rover I just sold him, and he comes and picks me up, and I go to get in the car, and he's got the camera in my face, you know, hey Bob, what are you working on today? Doing the look on my face is probably just not real. Hey buddy, I'm so excited to see you. You know, I mean, I love the guy, but I'm disappointed. So we pull into Rob's driveway, and there's the Ferrari sitting outside in the sun in the driveway. And I get it out of the car, and I walk up to it, and I can look at a car in 30 seconds, you know, and kind of see. And I look at the car, I just look at it, and then I just look away. I mean, because it's like, it's way nicer than I expected. And Rob comes over to the other side of me. Rob's like, I'm sorry, Bob, I'm sorry. You know, I'm like, it's okay, Rob. You know, he says, well, I didn't know you really wanted the car, you know. And I'm like, what part of I'll write you a check right now is confusing about me wanting the car? And then like they were messing with me. You know, I'm getting frustrated, and they're playing me back and forth. Tyler looks over at Rob, and he goes, Rob, we can't keep doing this. You know, and Rob looks at him, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he goes, Bob, the Ferrari's yours. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, the Ferrari's yours. And I'm like, now, if you're messing with me now, and this is a joke, this is not funny. Are you serious? He says, nope, you get to buy the car, the Ferrari. I mean, the rest is just, I have the car. It's just it's a car that I absolutely love. We take the car out. I've been polishing the car, reconning the car. I just absolutely, I went and found it had 355 wheels on it. I found 348 wheels, brand new pilot sports. I'm just putting the car back, had a paint correction, ceramic coat, you know, and then just over the wintertime, you know. And so this is an interesting thing about the car. So two things is the cars, I never tag a car. You know, because I have a dealership, and they're always in the dealership, and that's just smart for me. I run a D-tag and whatnot. But I can't tie up $52,000. So I go get a loan for this Ferrari and put it in my name, pay the taxes. I get a personalized tag, and it's already ordered Euro Asian. And so now I've got my dream Ferrari on the wall, thanks to my friends.
Premier Financial Services makes it easier and more affordable than you could possibly imagine to own your dream car. Their Simple Lease is one of the most powerful tools in the world of exotic car financing. You get all the benefits like the tax savings and the low payments of a lease with all the additional benefits that you normally find in a traditional finance arrangement. You can build up equity, you can pay it off early, you can trade in and out of cars because you get a very clear and easy to understand amortization table to understand what your payoff will be any month throughout your term. And all the while, the amazing team from Premier Financial Services will be right there to help you along the way. They've been supporters of the VinWiki channel now for 5 years in a row, so we can't thank them enough for that, but mostly we're thankful for the fact that they can help you make it easier than ever to own your dream car. Check them out now.